Bridgerton Season 4 shattered our hearts and mended them before we could recover from the shock, and now the details we have about Season 5 are definitely changing everything we ever knew from the books. At the end of Season 4, Penelope Bridgerton stepped down as Lady Whistledown. She put down the quill and literally retired, and for a second we thought that was it, and we wondered if we'd ever hear her voice again. But then, right there in the Season 4 finale, a fresh Whistledown pamphlet started circulating across Mayfair with a new and promising energy. And this is the part that should make you sit up because there's so much fun ahead, and we are here to spill it all. Someone else picked up Lady Whistledown's pen, and nobody knows who. Now here's why that matters more than people are giving it credit for. When Penelope was Whistledown, everyone could actually tell before the Ton discovered it. The show knew that. Showrunner Jess Brownell actually said it out loud. They couldn't play with the reveal for too long because the books already gave it away. But now, the new Whistledown isn't in the books at all. This storyline was created specifically for the show, which means for the first time in Bridgerton history, everyone is anxious about what the twist could be. And at this point, it could be anybody. And it could also be that Penelope faked her retirement entirely to reclaim her anonymity. She spent 3 seasons desperate to keep her identity hidden, and the moment she was finally free, the freedom felt worse than the secret. It's not impossible that she would hide it from her husband, since she's very good at doing so. However, her source for gossip, which has failed, is a reason why it could be anyone no one suspects. But whoever the new Whistledown is, one thing is already clear: she is not going to be gentle. The Season 4 pamphlet promised chaos, and the Ton will be absolutely full of it in Season 5. Speaking of Penelope, because her story doesn't end with Whistledown, the last time we saw her, she was writing a novel. Queen Charlotte gave her blessing, Penelope retired the column, and then sat down to build something new entirely from scratch, a novel where she's not hidden behind a pseudonym for once in her life. In Season 5, both Penelope and Colin are expected to be in Bridgerton as 2 published writers building a life together. That is such a different version of Penelope Bridgerton than the wallflower we met in Season 1 that it barely feels real. But here's the thing that's going to keep fans watching. With a new Whistledown dropping fresh scandals all over Mayfair, Penelope is going to be right in the middle of it. She knows how this game is played better than anyone, and something tells us she won't stay quiet for long. Now, Lady Mondrich is stepping into a completely different world in Season 5. She spent all of Season 4 engineering the most important social maneuver in the show, legitimizing Sophie in the eyes of the Queen, practically single-handedly. And the reward for all of that is a seat right next to Queen Charlotte herself. Lady Mondrich as a lady-in-waiting sounds like an honor, but anyone who has watched this show long enough knows that getting close to the Queen is never just an honor. It's a front-row seat to every secret, every scandal, and every grudge in the Ton. Lady Mondrich is about to know things, and that makes her one of the most interesting characters going into Season 5. As crazy as it sounds, Lady Mondrich could be an even better company to the Queen now that Lady Danbury is leaving, but the sad thing is that Lady Danbury, one of the most powerful, most beloved, most untouchable women in the show, might not be in Season 5 at all, because at the very end of Season 4, she closed up her house in the Ton. Her plan to install Alice Mondrich as the Queen's new Chief Lady-in-Waiting had been completed, her work was done, and Lady Danbury quietly prepared to leave for the countryside. She gave herself a retirement, which means Season 5 could be the first season of Bridgerton without her voice in the room. And honestly, that absence is going to be felt in a way that nothing else in this show has prepared us for. But while one major character steps back, another love story is quietly starting to take shape, and this one is going to hit different. By the end of Season 4, John Sterling was gone suddenly, without a warning, as he suffered a brain aneurysm in the middle of the night. Francesca went from wife to widow in the span of 1 episode, and the whole time, Michaela, John's cousin, the person whose energy and presence had been quietly pulling at something in Francesca all season, was right there. Close enough that Michaela eventually had to leave because staying was becoming too complicated. That tension is going into Season 5 fully unresolved. Francesca is grieving, Michaela is gone, and there is an entire slow burn love story sitting between those two facts, waiting to be told. The show has been building this since Season 3, when Michaela was first introduced, and the showrunner has confirmed that Francesca's season is on the way. Season 5 is expected to be the build-up, the foundation, for what eventually becomes one of the most emotionally layered romances the show has ever attempted. Because it's not just a love story, it's a love story built in the shadow of grief. and that changes everything about how it plays out. But it gets really better because there's one more love story hovering over season 5, and this one is a little softer and quieter. Violet Bridgerton has been alone for a long time. She raised 8 children, she ran a household, she watched every single one of her kids fall in love while she stood at the edge of ballrooms looking on. And in season 4, something shifted. Marcus Anderson, Lady Danbury's brother, has been having tea with Violet for a while now. Benedict even called it out. That kind of attention in Bridgerton doesn't go unnoticed, even though they are both adults. The Ton still expects them to do what's right by marrying. In season 5, the expectation is that Violet might decide to marry Marcus for fear of losing him. A Bridgerton matriarch finding love again after years of widowhood is the kind of storyline that is going to change everything. Also, this love story may never become successful as Violet cherishes her freedom as much as she cherishes having tea. And then, Benedict and Sophie's story didn't end with the proposal and the overcoming of the illegitimacy scandal. Season 5 is expected to bring them the next chapter, a baby. After everything it took to get them here, after the class divide, the secret identity, and the Queen's approval, Benedict and Sophie Bridgerton are going to become parents. And that changes the entire dynamic of the Bridgerton house in the most joyful way possible. But here's where things get really interesting, because the person season 5 is actually going to belong to is the one Bridgerton sibling who has spent 4 seasons loudly, confidently, and almost aggressively refusing to get married, Eloise. And the way her love story is set up is so unlike anything this show has done before that it barely feels like the same series. Eloise has always been the smartest person in any room. She has watched sibling after sibling fall into the marriage trap, and every single time she has had something to say about it. She is not interested. She does not want it. She has said it so many times in so many ways that the audience almost believed her. Then she met Sir Philip Crane, except she didn't meet him. She wrote to him. According to the books, after Marina's death, Eloise sent a condolence letter, and that one letter turned into a correspondence. Then, the correspondence turned into something she didn't expect. Wit, honesty, candor, the kind of connection that doesn't happen in a ballroom, the kind that builds quietly in writing where nobody is performing for anyone. Philip wrote back, expecting a meek, agreeable woman who might help him raise his twins. What he gets is Eloise Bridgerton showing up at his door, uninvited, fully herself, and completely unwilling to be what he imagined. This is the part that will change everything in season 5 because the show has been building this moment for 4 seasons. Sir Philip Crane was introduced all the way back in season 1. The show set the table for Eloise's love story before most people even realized it. And in season 4, Eloise revealed that she was beginning to see marriage differently as a way to have a lifelong companion. But it gets even more interesting because Shonda Rhimes has gone on record saying the Marina in the show is a genuinely different character from the Marina in the books, and fans immediately picked up on what that might mean. If the Marina is different, the Philip might be different. If Philip is different, the whole love story could go anywhere, which means the show's real version of Sir Philip could be anyone, or someone we already know. There could even be a return to Theo Sharp, the printing press worker from season 2, the one Eloise had a real connection with before that storyline was quietly dropped. Fans have not forgotten about him, and neither, possibly, has the show.